Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, a free site, bettingangle.us, a free site. Today is Monday, May 15th, 2023. Let's talk boxing. Let's focus on this WBA super lightweight title fight. But first, remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Now, let me say I'm a big fan of boxing. I believe in the sport, but sometimes the sport goes too far. Sometimes they try to sell you something that, quite frankly, shouldn't even be packaged. Now, I need for folks to understand that 140 pounds, the super lightweight division, is loaded with talent, right? It's loaded with talent. Gary Anton Russell, 16-0. Juan Carlos Ramirez, he's 28-1. His only loss was to Josh Taylor, who's about to fight Teofimo Lopez. Understand, this is Regis Prograis division. Understand, you have people like Jack Catterall. His only loss, debatable one, was to Josh Taylor. You have Jose Zepeda, who's had some spectacular knockouts in his career. You have another warrior, Jose Pedraza. Now, in this world, somehow, lightweight, Rolly Romero got a shot at the title. In the comment section of this video, let's include the crowd here, because I don't want to sound too hard in this video. I want the crowd to participate. Give me your thoughts. Give all of us your thoughts. What exactly has Rolly Romero done to warrant a shot at the title at 140? Right? If you're going to have a title match, don't you have to at least explain to the public how Romero, who lost recently to Gervonta Davis, somehow was able to leapfrog these guys? Right? Lipinets, another guy, for example, to leapfrog everyone else, to somehow enter the division on the top floor. Also, here's a question. Who was the champion in this fight? It wasn't Ismael Barroso. It certainly couldn't have been Rolly Romero. So how was this a title fight for a major sanctioning body at 140 pounds? Well, apparently there was a champ, and that champ failed a drug test. So that champ had to step aside. So, of course, they decided to put Romero in against Ismael Barroso, a guy who's 40 years old. Right? It's clear someone someplace thought this was going to be a showcase fight for Rolly Romero. Right? Instead, Romero gets outboxed. Let's talk about the styles for a second. Let me say, when he gets outboxed, you don't have to believe Richard Dwyer. All you have to do is look at the judges' scorecards. They had Ismael Barroso beating Rolly Romero. All you had to do was look at who was getting up off the canvas in the early rounds. It's Romero who gets dropped in the early rounds. Now understand the styles here. Barroso is a Joe Frazier type guy. He's moving, right? He dips and dives. He's moving his head and he's throwing hooks. So he's coming in and he's not stationary for a puncher like Rolly Romero, who is hoping that you stop moving so he can then say, gotcha, throw a right hand, take you out. Right? Well, here you have Barroso, savvy vet, right? He's moving his upper body, he's coming in like this, and he's throwing heavy hooks. And I mean heavy hooks. Now, as you watch this fight, you realize that Rolly Romero has holes in his game. To say he is not defensively blessed understates the holes in the game. Understand, as he backs away from the pocket to get away from the shots, he's practically naked. Barroso is following him and is landing heavy hooks on him. Barroso's out throwing him. Barroso is out landing him. Right? Rolly Romero, in my parlance, is a sunny day fighter. Right? The sun has to come out. The wind has to stop blowing. You have to be standing there with a hit me sign under your chin for this guy to be able to be his best. Right? You might have noticed in that Gervonta Davis-Rolly Romero fight, very slow, low volume fight. Right? Both guys are standing around looking at each other. But keep in mind, Gervonta Davis actually understood what he needed to look for. Right? Rolly Romero is just there hoping that things slow down so he can land that big shot. Right? I just read you a list of names here. I don't believe Rolly Romero beats most of these guys. Right? I would take Gary Russell over him. Right? I would certainly take Regis Prograis over him. I would take Teofimo over him. I would take Josh Taylor over him. Right? But here he is, a 135er fighting for the title against a guy who himself doesn't have the title. Barroso's a replacement. Well, Barroso is winning the fight, right? He's the guy who's moving. Rolly Romero can't quite read his feints. Romero is flat-footed. When Romero backs up, this isn't the fighter who's backing up and has a glove up, has a shoulder in the way, is hard to hit. This isn't the guy who can stay in front of you and not be found. No, Romero is getting hit with shots throughout the fight. So, at the time of the stoppage, and I use that word loosely, just to understand, Romero does have a punch. I give him that. And he drops Barroso. Barroso gets off the canvas. Now the question here, and this is a fight that's in what Sugar Ray Robinson called the hurt business. The question here is whether Barroso is so hurt that he can't continue the fight. Folks, Barroso, who's buzzed? I'm not here to say he's not buzzed. But Barroso, of course, is moving. He's feinting. He's even going low. In other words, his balance isn't so off where the guy can't even duck. Right? This is a guy who's dipping, ducking. He's moving his shoulders. That's his game. He's looking for hooks and stuff like that. He's active. So you're watching the fight. You realize both guys have scored knockdowns. You sense that Barroso is ahead in the fight. You sense that Barroso is getting back in the saddle in the fight, right? He's been hurt. Now he's coming back, right? He's coordinated. You've seen this in countless fights. The question in the moment was, gee, is Rolly going to come back in this fight? Because you sense that Rolly Romero was down in the fight. Then incredibly, and I mean incredibly, and sometimes referees have bad nights, right? Tony Weeks must have thought this fight was taking place in the United Kingdom. Suddenly, here's Tony Weeks stopping the fight. You thought, wow, did someone lose a mouthpiece or something? Is that why he's stopping the fight? No, he stops the fight. He doesn't pause the fight. He stops the fight. The stoppage is so unexpected. As I said before, you see Tony Weeks jump in and you're saying, gee, why is Tony jumping in? Right? This is not the fight where some guy is holding on for dear life and you're thinking, man, is this guy going to make it through the round? And you're thinking, oh, there are 10 seconds left. Is he going to last? No, no, no. This wasn't that fight. This was a fight where Rolly Romero is trying to make a comeback. He's on the verge of getting upset. His opponent, he drops his opponent. The opponent gets up. Then the opponent gets back in the fight. The opponent's the one who's winning the fight. Even the judges saw that. This stoppage was premature. To the public, if you believe the stoppage was appropriate, tell us why in the comment section of this video. Let's make it interactive. Right, folks, in a title fight, and again, I'm using that word loosely, right? In a title fight, you can't have finishes like this. Right? If you see the referee get between two fighters and you're thinking, gee, what is the ref doing here? If you don't know that one fighter is badly hurt, if you aren't thinking, wow, this guy's badly hurt, is he going to survive? If that's not your mindset, if you're puzzled when you see the ref separate the fighters and you're thinking, gee, did someone lose a mouthpiece? Then it's an improper stoppage. This stoppage was improper. Quite frankly, it shouldn't even be the fighter's choice on whether they do a rematch. The sanctioning body needs to step out of the background and say, hey, we know Tony Weeks is an excellent referee, but he had a bad day here. Right? He had a Joel Embiid Game 7 here. Right? It didn't work here. The ending discredited the fight. Give me 1 second, folks. The ending discredited the fight. First off, Rolly Romero isn't even deserving of a title shot at 140. The guys who are know that. Then, of course, with this cloudy ending, Rolly Romero certainly isn't worthy of winning the title this way. After the fight, of course, who does Rolly Romero call out? Does he say, hey, Sergey Lipinets, I want you? Does he say, Jose Zepeda, I want you? Gary Russell, you're next. Regis Prograis, you're next. Does he call out those guys? Does he say, Jose Carlos Ramirez, you're next? Does he declare war on the 140-pound division? So you say, okay, well, this fight might not have seemed legit, but the winner here, or at least the guy who the ref declared the winner, wants to be legit. He's going to fight legit guys. Who does he call out? He calls out a guy who just lost to Gervonta Davis at 136 pounds, right? This fight, of course, is in the 140-pound division, right? I'm guessing of Regis Prograis, Jose Carlos Ramirez would consider Ryan Garcia to be a young, promising, talented guy. Not to be the guy you call out when you've just won the title. This would be like someone beating Tyson Fury and then calling out the 2020 Olympic gold medalist or something. You say, what? Shouldn't you be calling out, Wilder or, Zhili Zhang or Ergovic, right? And so, folks, this fight smells. I'm not saying there's corruption. What I am saying is this is a step too far for boxing. You're going to lose fans here. Right? Fans are going to look at the fight. They're going to say, what's the ref doing? Then they're going to hear that Rolly Romero is declared the winner. Then they're going to hear that he's the champ. And if you know anything about boxing, you're going to say, what? How's that possible? How could he fight a guy who isn't the champ? How could he not have been in the division? In other words, this isn't an elimination match. This isn't a guy like, let's say, Manny Pacquiao or Gervonta Davis, running the table, then jumping up in weight. And so you say, okay, I get it. This would be like Terrence Crawford jumping to 154. Right? This guy's dominated. No, this is Rolly Romero who got knocked out by Gervonta Davis. Right? Now suddenly he's promoted to the 140-pound division. He jumps the line, gets the belt in a match where he's losing on the scorecards, in a stoppage that people at ringside thought was premature. Right? So boxing, this is a step too far. I encourage the sanctioning body to say, hey, our title means something. This is not the way to win it. The ref made a mistake here. This is George Groves, Carl Froch, the first fight. The ref was a little bit premature here. The stoppage was unwarranted. We're ordering a rematch. I don't care how old Barroso is. Power's the last to go. He certainly was tagging Rolly Romero. Right? He's 40 and he was winning the fight. Right? They need to run this back. To have this title mean something. That's how I see it. Let me hear from you. If you feel that Rolly Romero was worthy to fight for the title at 140, even when the opponent wasn't the champion, if you feel that Barroso was in bad shape, that there's something the rest of us have missed, that only you and Tony Weeks seem to notice, right? If you feel that the referee saved Barroso from a certain loss in a fight where, quite frankly, I thought Barroso was back in it. Certainly he's moving, he's defending himself, he's throwing punches. If you feel this fight is being maligned in the press and that it should be given more seriousness, and if you're not disturbed by Rolly Romero visiting the 140-pound division, calling out Ryan Garcia, and then announcing that if he doesn't get Ryan Garcia, he's going to leave the division. He's going to jump to 147. I'd like to know who he's going to fight at 147. Virgil Ortiz? Boots? Terrence? Errol? Keith Thurman? Folks, the water is too deep, in my opinion, for Rolly at 147. We'll see what happens. Let me say this too. Offer some completely unsolicited online advice from a stranger to Ryan Garcia. If you're going to fight for the title at 140, this is not the way to do it. Right? You want to fight someone who has gravitas with the public. Right? I'm telling you, many people here saw a fight that Rolly Romero was losing, including the judges, by the way. Right? They saw a stoppage that was so premature that if it was a steak and you like pink in your steak, you would say, waiter, I'm sorry, this is too raw for me. Right? I hope the sanctioning body makes this right. Let's have a rematch. If Rolly beats Barroso in the rematch, okay, fine. We'll go forward. Right? But Barroso really can't get jobbed like this. A fighter who's 40, who has a punch, who's roughing up a young lion, who is making the most of the career opportunity, can't have it evaporate because Tony Weeks got a bit too excited. That's how I see it. Let me hear from you. I hope you leave your comments in the comment section of this YouTube video. Thanks for stopping by.